I want you to picture a scene. It's from the notes we have today by Mary Esther Malloy, and it is honestly one of the most relatable, chaotic snapshots I think I've ever read.
Okay.
The living room is a disaster zone. I mean, we're talking absolute wreckage. And over the speakers, Tchaikovsky is blasting at maximum volume.
Please tell me it's the 1812 overture with the cannons.
So close. It's the Nutcracker. But this is not the ballet.
Yeah.
You have children swinging baseball bats like they're broadswords.
Oh, wow.
And the family dog is like sprinting for its life because in this particular reimagining, the dog is the evil mouse king.
That sounds incredibly loud and a little bit dangerous.
It's total sensory overload, and this is where the story gets really interesting for our deep dive today. Malloy describes two potential reactions. First, there's the chill mother. She pokes her head in, she sees the bats, hears the Tchaikovsky, and she just sort of chuckles at the sheer creative madness of it all and walks away.
A saint.
Truly.
And then there's the reactive father.
Let me guess. He does not chuckle. Not even a little. He walks in and his nervous system just detonates. It's that classic, my nerves, the stress, turn that off.
Yes.
He starts hollering, the temper flares, and bam! The creative play is dead, the kids are crying, the whole house is in a tailspin. It's a full-on volcanic eruption.
And that's the universal parenting struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all want to be that chill parent. We want to see the play and the chaos.
Right.
But our biology just has other plans. The noise hits us, the mess hits us, and we bypass calm guidance and go straight to volcano.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We've got a great stack of sources here. Mary Esther Malloy's work, some really practical techniques from the AHEAD app, and some pretty heavy clinical analysis on neuroregulation.
And we're not just talking about how to survive the meltdown once it's already happening.
No, because by then, like you said, it's usually too late.
Exactly.
We're looking at how to catch it upstream. It's this shift from reactive discipline, which is, let's be honest, just janitorial work after the explosion, to something proactive.
Proactive neuroregulation. And that shift really hinges on this core metaphor that runs through all the research.
The simmer versus the boil.
The simmer versus the boil.
I really like this imagery because it's just so visceral. The boil is the meltdown, right? That's the screaming, the floor thrashing, the total collapse of civilization in the grocery store.
Correct. The boil is when the pot has already bubbled over. At that point, you're just doing damage control.
Okay.
But the whole mission of this deep dive really is to help you identify the simmer.
That window of time.
That specific window where the heat is rising, the bubbles are forming at the bottom. But, and this is so key, the child is actually still reachable.
So let's get into the machine. Let's talk about the biology. Because I think a lot of parents feel like a meltdown just comes out of nowhere. You know, one minute the kid's eating a cracker, the next they're screaming like a banshee. But looking at the clinical data here, that's not really true, is it?
It's almost never true. To the parent, it feels sudden because we just weren't paying attention to the frequency change. But biologically, a meltdown is a progression. It follows what the clinicians call the arousal continuum.
Right. I was looking at the charts on this. It all starts at baseline.
Baseline is your green zone. The child is calm, they're curious, maybe playing with Legos, and neurologically, this is when the prefrontal cortex is fully online.
And the prefrontal cortex, we know, is the CEO of the brain. It's doing logic, learning, impulse control.
Exactly. When the CEO is at the desk, the company runs smoothly. But then stress starts to build up. Maybe the room is too loud, our Tchaikovsky example, or they're hungry, or transitioning from school to home. This is where we enter the simmer.
This was a huge aha moment for me in the reading. Simmer isn't just an emotion, it's a physiological state.
It is. The heart rate spikes, the breath gets shallow.
And you see it in the behavior. This is where that boundary testing starts to happen.
Yes, and that's the part that usually triggers the parents.
Of course. We think the kid is being difficult on purpose. Why are you poking your sister? Why are you throwing the cushion? But you're saying that's actually a biological signal.
It's a distress flare. It's a sign of rising dysregulation. The CEO, the prefrontal cortex, is starting to lose its connection. But, and this is the critical part, during the simmer, the child is still in what we call the window of tolerance.
They're stressed, but they can still process information. They can still hear you.
It can still hear you.
Yeah.
But if we miss that window, if we yell back or if we ignore it,
then we hit the boil.
we hit the boil.
Mm.
This is the amygdala hijack.
I want to spend a second on that word hijack because it sounds so violent, but it's really accurate, isn't it? What is physically happening to the brain in that moment?
The amygdala which is the brain's threat detection center. It's the smoke alarm. It completely takes over. It just severs the neural pathways to the prefrontal cortex.
It pulls the plug on the CEO.
Completely. Logic shuts off.
Yeah.
Verbal reasoning shuts off. The thinking memory is just disabled by this chemical wash of terror or rage.
This explains why the lecture technique fails so spectacularly. I think every parent has done this. The kid is screaming on the floor, and we stand over them and say, "Now, we don't scream because we need to use our words. And if you want the toy, you have to ask nicely." And they're looking at you like you're speaking Klingon.
Because they literally cannot process what you are saying. It's not defiance, it's a temporary disability.
Yeah.
The sources are really heavy on this. Lectures during a meltdown fail because the cognitive load is just way too high for a task system.
It's like asking a drowning swimmer to learn calculus.
That's a great way to put it. You wouldn't teach swim strokes to someone who's currently going under. You just grab them.
You just grab them.
So the goal of all this neuroregulation isn't just to force the child to stop crying. It's to use neuroplasticity to actually expand that window of tolerance, to stretch out the simmer.
So they have more bandwidth to handle stress before they hit the boil.
Exactly.
But here's the massive roadblock, and I feel this in my bones. We can't help them stretch their window if our own window is shattered.
Well, there it is.
I can't be the lifeguard if I'm also drowning.
This is the prerequisite that most parenting advice just skips right over. A parent at a boil cannot regulate a child at a simmer. It is biologically impossible. You can't lend calm to someone else if you don't have any yourself.
Which brings us to the parents' reset. And I love the tools from the Ahead app and Malloy because they feel realistic. You know, I don't have time for a 20-minute meditation when my kid is refusing to put on shoes. I have, 30 seconds.
And that's all you need. The whole mind shower concept is designed for the battlefield. It's a quick mental rinse.
Let's break down the mechanics of the 4-2-6 breath, because normally when people tell me to just breathe when I'm angry, I kind of want to throw something at them.
Right.
But there's a real mechanism behind these numbers.
There is. It's not magic. It's just anatomy. You inhale for 4, you hold for 2, and you exhale for 6. The magic is in the 6.
The long exhale.
The long exhale. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally speeds up a little bit. When you exhale, it slows down. So by deliberately making your exhale longer than your inhale, you are physically forcing your heart rate to drop.
You're manually engaging the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest mode. You are hacking your own vagus nerve. You're sending a biological signal that says, we are safe. Even if your brain is screaming, we are late.
You're overriding the panic signal.
You are. And if breathing doesn't cut it, Mary Esther Malloy has this 3-step mindfulness method that I think is just brilliant because it anchors you in reality.
This is the body breath hold method.
Right. So step 1 is body. But it's not just thinking I'm stressed. It's getting really granular. You have to locate the sensation. My shoulders are up to my ears. My jaw feels like it's going to snap.
Why does locating it help so much?
Because it moves you from being the emotion to observing the sensation. It creates just a tiny bit of distance. Then step 2 is breath, but she suggests chunking it. Just take 3 breaths. Don't worry about fixing your whole life. Just do 3.
It lowers the barrier to entry, makes it doable. And then step 3.
Whole. You expand your awareness to your whole body with a little touch of warmth or acceptance. And you use this very specific phrase, this is how it is right now.
This is how it is right now. That's surprisingly powerful. It's like you're giving up the fight against reality, aren't you?
You're stopping the resistance. Suffering is often just pain multiplied by resistance. When you stop fighting the fact that, yes, the milk is spilled or no, the shoes aren't on, you drop that resistance. Then you can just deal with what is.
And the sources suggest doing these little mind showers during transition points, like parking the car, washing dishes, or, let's be real, hiding in the bathroom.
A bathroom sanctuary is a very legitimate parenting tool.
It really is. But there's another tool here for parents called the Yell Less Reset. It's a 60-second protocol to move you from feeling resentful and unheard to curious inquiry.
And that shift is so subtle, but it's so powerful. When we're in the simmer ourselves, we tend to feel victimized by our kids. Why are you doing this to me? The reset flips that to what is happening with you. It changes the entire energy in the room from adversarial to collaborative.
Okay, so let's say we've done this. I've hidden in the bathroom. I've done my 4-2-6 breathing. I've accepted this is how it is. I'm calm. Now what? What do I do with the kid who is just vibrating with stress?
Now we get to co-regulation.
I feel like co-regulation is a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot on social media, but in the context of this research, it's an actual biological intervention.
It is. We have to understand that self-regulation is a learned skill. It's like playing the piano. We aren't born knowing how to calm down. Co-regulation is that serve and return interaction where the parent literally lends their calm nervous system to the child.
It's like Wi-Fi. If their signal is down, they can tether to yours.
That's a perfect analogy. You are the hotspot. And one of the most effective ways to establish that connection is through sensory grounding. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique is like the gold standard here.
I've used this for my own anxiety, but how do you apply it to a kid who's in the simmer?
You just turn it into a game. You ask them to name 5 things they can see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear.
2 things they smell, 1 thing they taste. But why does just listing things stop a meltdown? It feels almost too simple.
It works because of where the brain activity is happening. When a child is spiraling, they're stuck in their amygdala and limbic system. It's all internal chaos. This forces the brain to focus on external stimuli.
So you're diverting energy.
You're diverting energy and blood flow away from the panic center and toward the parts of the brain that process sensory input. You're rebooting the computer.
But you have to tailor this to the age, right? You can't ask a toddler to list 5 things they see. They'll just get distracted.
No, absolutely not. For toddlers, the sources talk a lot about busy books.
With the texture paths.
Exactly. Things with satin, sandpaper, fleece. Touching those textures is incredibly grounding. Tactile sensation is a direct line to the nervous system.
Or the breathing bear. I love this one because it visualizes the breath. You put a little stuffed animal on their belly while they lie down.
And their only job is to give the bear a ride, up and down. It turns a boring breathing exercise into a game.
For the school-aged kids, there's dragon breath.
Deep breath in, fill the lungs, and then whoosh, blow out the fire with a long, forceful exhale. Again, it's that same long exhale mechanism we talked about, just wrapped in a cool metaphor.
And for teens, please tell me we're not asking 15-year-olds to do dragon breath.
Oh, no. Only if you want to trigger a meltdown from sheer embarrassment. For teens, it's more about mindful walks or just reflective listening. It's avoiding the interrogation. It's walking side by side instead of face to face.
There's also this S-stop-P skill mentioned in the sources.
S-T-O-P. Stop. Take a breath, observe, and then proceed. It's a quick little algorithm to just insert a pause button between the trigger and the reaction.
So we have the biology, the parents' reset, and the tools. But sometimes, even with all of that, we just misinterpret what the child is doing. We think they're being a brat, but really they're drowning. Which brings us to the knee translator.
This is the part that takes the most practice. We have to start seeing behavior as a coded message. When a child is in the simmer, they're communicating needs just in a really messy, inefficient way.
Okay, let's play this out. Because when a kid screams, "I hate you," or "I can't do this," it feels incredibly personal. It feels like an attack.
Of course it does. But the knee translator asks you to look under the hood. So if a child screams, "I can't do this," they aren't saying they're incompetent. They're saying, "I am overwhelmed. The cognitive load is too high. Please break this down for me."
Okay, what about the classic, "No, I won't go"?
The heels dug in, arms crossed.
That translates to, "I feel powerless. I have no autonomy." The fix isn't to force them. It's to offer a micro-choice. Do you want to walk to the car or hop to the car?
You're giving them a tiny shred of control back.
Exactly. And the hardest one, aggressive posturing, getting in your face, maybe even hitting.
That's the one where the parent's fight instinct just kicks in instantly. It's scary. But the need translator says, "My sensory tank is full. I need a reset." They're overstimulated. They're looking for a physical release of all that tension.
That is such a heavy lift for a parent in that moment. To see a punch as a cry for help?
It's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But just knowing it can help. And there's a trap here we really need to talk about because the sources show a direct link between parental perfectionism and increased child meltdowns.
The perfectionism trap.
Yeah. When we need everything to be just so, the house clean, the schedule perfect, the behavior exemplary, we are raising the background heat of the whole house.
We're basically keeping the stove on simmer all day long.
We are. Our own anxiety becomes contagious. We create that background heat through clutter, through noise, through rushing, especially during those high-risk times like the witching hour before dinner.
So part of this proactive regulation is just environmental engineering. It's turning down the lights, it's lowering the volume on the TV, it's maybe not scheduling a complex craft project at 5:30 p.m. when everyone's starving.
Precisely. It's realizing that willpower is a finite resource. And by 5:00 p.m., for everyone, that tank is empty. Don't test the tank when it's empty.
I want to circle back to the very beginning, to the kitchen, to that sauce.
The culinary metaphor, it really is the perfect way to wrap this all up.
The idea from the text is that you can't rush the sauce.
Right. Any chef will tell you this. If you crank up the heat to cook it faster, you burn it. You ruin the flavor. Parenting through the simmer it's a lot like that.
They talk about sitting in the simmer.
Sitting in the simmer lets the ingredients, the child's personality, their resilience, their coping skills, it lets them blend and mature. If we rush them, if we try to fix the emotion just to make the noise stop, we miss that whole opportunity for growth.
That is honestly such a relief to hear, because the instinct is always to fix it now. Stop the crying now. We treat the simmer like a problem we have to solve.
But the crying, or the frustration, or the anger, that is the heat required for the growth. It's the friction that builds the resilience.
So let's bring this all home. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, great theory, but what do I do today? Here's the game plan.
Step 1. Become a simmer detective. Stop waiting for the explosion. Look for the shallow breath, the fidgeting, the boundary testing. That's your signal.
Step 2. Put on your own oxygen mask first. You can't regulate a child if you're hyperventilating. Use that 60-second mind shower. 4-2-6 breathing. Lengthen that exhale.
Step 3. Establish the connection. Co-regulate. Use the sensory tools, the textures, the counting games to pull them out of their amygdala and back into the room with you.
And step 4. Decode the signal. Don't take the behavior personally. Use the need translator. No means I need a choice. Aggression means I need space or a reset.
And through it all, just watch out for the perfectionism. Lower the heat whenever you can.
It's a lot, but it's a toolkit you can build over time. You know, looking at all this, there's a final provocative thought that really lingers for me from the research.
What's that?
We spend so much energy trying to avoid the meltdown. We treat the simmer as the enemy, but what if it isn't?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? What if we stop viewing the simmer as a failure of parenting or a failure of the child? What if we just saw it as the necessary friction for emotional growth?
It changes the goalposts completely.
It does. The goal isn't a silent, perfectly obedient child who never has big feelings. The goal is a child who learns to survive the heat, who learns that they can feel overwhelmed and then come back from it.
And our job isn't to fix it for them, it's just to survive it with them.
The sources call it warm authority.
Warm authority, not reactive, not boiling over, just warm.
Bench.
And present.
And present.
Well, I'm going to go practice my 4-2-6 breathing now, just in case the Nutcracker starts playing in my living room later.
Probably a good idea.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.